philosophy, specifically Renaissance philosophy, process of reason. What new insight has philosophy firmly established within society? What does the conceptual framework of Renaissance philosophy have to offer? During the Renaissance, in the 1415 and early 1600s, philosophers turned their attention to the way things happened on earth and the way people could seek truth through reason. Scientists of the era were so successful in their methods of investigation that these methods became the criteria for all other fields. Mathematics grew in importance. World Book Encyclopedia, page 349. Basically, we're looking at the development of the field of study called ontology. In essence, the realm of faith was not giving way to the realm of reason, but rather just making room for reason. Renaissance implies a rebirth, a revival, and there is no denying that applying the concept of reason to our understanding of what the universe is, what we are, and why we exist was a revival of reason from the past period of early Christian philosophy when reason was not the point. Faith was the point. This is not to say that reason was able to answer the questions, quite the contrary. Reason seemed to only add confusion to the debate. Confusion became so prevalent that we began questioning the rationality of our continued search for understanding. We could not prove the validity of our own existence and the existence of our physical reality, let alone that of a God or a causative force. At this point in time, philosophy became very territorial. Religion was in the process of attempting to keep both science and philosophy out of what they considered to be their turf. Religion was desperately attempting to force scientific thought and pure philosophy back into their shells. Religion was becoming very abusive, and the thought of even considering what science and philosophy had to say laid in the realm of heresy, unless it totally and unequivocally supported the dogma of religion, blind faith. But the Pandora box containing pure reason, unshackled by the restraints of faith, has been opened. Ontology began the search for the causative force, or what religion calls God, and Renaissance philosophy began to search for the reason we exist, the reason why, based entirely upon pure reason and independent of what faith and observation had to tell us. But Renaissance philosophy, ignoring faith and observation, that is, religion's spirituality and science, was to find itself incapable of coming to any solid resolution. What does the conceptual framework of Renaissance philosophy imply about the universe within which we live? Logic would seem to imply our universe was created. Logic, reason, would now begin its search for the answer to the questions why. Why does the universe exist? Why was the universe created? Why are we a part of it? Initially, ontological philosophy, pure reason, may have been biased by faith as it tried to set forth a logical perception regarding what the universe is, why it exists, and why we exist within this reality we call the universe. But there is little denying that our obsession with the questions themselves did not diminish as we entered the Renaissance age of philosophy. In fact, our obsession with the questions may have become even more obsessive, for it not only preoccupied our intuitive thinking, faith, but it also preoccupied our rational thought, reason. This period of philosophy was a major shift in our philosophical development. Once again, we were to understand that faith alone could not answer all our questions. This did not imply we were not building unified views regarding basic questions of purpose. Quite the opposite was taking place. Reason and faith were each building their own models of existence separate from the other. The point, however, is a sphere of perception separate from religion emerged and began asserting itself. This was the beginning of the process which was to open up the potential for uniting the three spheres of perception into one unified view. To understand why the universe exists, we have to begin from the premise that the universe does not or does exist. In other words, we begin from a point of faith. It is possible we could stumble across the ultimate reason for the existence of a universe, but to prove it is well beyond our ability at this point in time. If we, using pure reason, did accidentally stumble upon the ultimate purpose of existence, we would never know it. The most we can hope for is establishing the reason in terms of what religion, faith, and science observation have to offer us. Building a model explaining why we exist using religion and science is something we can cross-check using what we sense and what we observe. Isolated philosophy was unable to even validate existence. In order to understand existence, to create a unified view, a universal philosophy, we would need more than pure reason. How does Renaissance philosophy reinforce the concept of panentheism? It begins to dawn on people that faith, as comforting as it may seem, is not enough. To say something is because we say so does not necessarily make it so. To say that the causative force is omnipresent, but the universe is not within God, does not seem reasonable. To say that we exist for no significant reason does not seem reasonable. To say that we exist within a causative force but do not impact her, we were created by a creator for no reason. We were created by a causative force and placed within for no reason, are statements that do not seem reasonable. Philosophy is the subject of reason intended to provide hypothetical answers based upon what we know at any particular point in time. Philosophy's very purpose is to develop a model, a unified view, capable of providing a reasonable explanation of what it is we see and sense. Philosophy is simply a tool we use to build a picture of what it is science and religion seem to be showing and telling us. Philosophy is a tool we use, and reason is the tool philosophy uses. Science seems to be showing us existence is a continual process of interaction. How can we ignore this? If we cannot ignore this observation, then what makes us think our existence only interacts with what lies within our universe? Reason would seem to imply our universe interacts with whatever it is the universe lies suspended within. As such, we being a part of the universe would impact upon what the universe lies within. A causative force, namely God, through the process of impacting the universe itself. Our impact becomes even more significant if our essence moves beyond the physical world science studies, five sense perception and observation, and moves directly into the abstract essence of what lies beyond the boundaries of our universe. This is why metaphysics is a useful tool to science, although many would deny that. This is what religion tells us happens to our souls, our essence, our awareness. Science brings us to the boundaries of the universe that is our physical reality, and religion carries us from there into the vast expanse of what lies beyond our universe, into the causative force, or God. Reason would imply, if religions are correct in their presumption of the causative force being omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, that we actually are already in the causative force, or God. Reason would appear to have no other logical option open to us. Existence is significant, not just to us, but to the causative force, to God, to Himself, herself, itself. What does Renaissance philosophy reinforce about the significance of existence? Life. Life has significance. What other reasonable explanation could be given for the effort needed to bring life into existence in the first place? The concept of life having significance does not imply what type of significance. For all we know, we could be the excrement of a greater being having a specific significance. In the process of fulfilling what it is, we would be what was left over. No one can prove or disprove such a statement, but the absurdity of it seems to make it unreasonable. The word absurdity, however, is not what it seems to be, for it is no more absurd than the concept. You are a figment of my imagination. The only reason both concepts are absurd is because we do not wish to accept such ideas. The repercussions such ideas would have upon society and ourselves would have what we call a negative impact upon all of us. In other words, such ideas lead to the elimination of hope, to nihilism. Hope that standing up to the trials and tribulations of life is meaningful. Hope that our seemingly insignificance is not insignificant. Hope that things will get better. And hope in an afterlife. If some perceptions of reality seem to have more validity than others, it is only because we sense and have faith in the concept that there is a reason behind existence. Our faith, in turn, is reinforced by what we see. We do not see the universe as a barren, sterile environment, dead. Rather, we see it as full potential, living life, hylozoic. We see it as a place filled with beauty and magnificence. We see it as a place teeming with life, breathtakingly colorful, filled with infinite variety. We see the universe as unique both in its entirety and its myriad of components. This endless display of the positive makes it difficult for us to accept ourselves as a pile of waste deposited by some superior being. If we reject negative perceptions, it is not because we could not rationalize the concepts. We are a most unusual creature. We are capable of rationalizing ourselves as being a pile of excrement if we put our minds to it, but we refuse to do so because of the absurdity of the idea. It would appear to be a waste of time. If we are the ones establishing what we perceive to be the reason for our own existence, then we may as well go all the way and make it as positive, idealistic, and inspiring as is reasonably possible using what we see and the faith we embrace. How does Renaissance philosophy help us understand what life is? If religions are correct in their initiative or intuitive sense of a causative force or a relationship with God existing and being all present, then reason would tell us we must be inside it, her, him. We must interact with her. As we go through life, we experience it as a series of observations and interactions within the physical universe. If the physical has a boundary, the awareness of the physical could conceivably be part of the non-physical. That would be immaterial spirit that may lie beyond the physical. Time being a function of the physical implies that eternal existence could be a characteristic of the abstract, and on and on. The more involved you get in terms of the details, the more intricate the web becomes, and the more difficult it is to unravel the strands. The concentration level needed to understand all the ins and outs becomes very intense. So forget the details, ask a few simple questions, and try to give a few simple answers. Does the universe exist? Yes, it appears to. Do you exist? Yes, you seem to. Do others exist? Yes, they seem to. Does life exist? Yes, it seems to. Are you aware? Yes, you seem to be. Are others aware? Yes, they seem to be. Is awareness physical? No, it does not seem to be. If the physical would be destroyed, would that mean the abstract awareness would also be destroyed? It does not seem that this would necessarily be so. It is possible that your awareness could become a part of the total awareness comprised in part of all individual awareness. Possibly. No one is saying this as a fact. No one can prove such concepts. That is why any explanation must be called a model incorporating as many of the observations and faiths we can garner together is called a unified view of what we appear to know. It is called a universal philosophy whose purpose is not to act as a guideline but to act as a foundation for guidelines and growth. It is a model intended to help us to understand what it is we think we see. This is the purpose of philosophy. This is what we have been seeking as individuals and as a species, but have been avoiding because we don't think it is reasonable to develop a model we cannot prove. what we have forgotten is that we cannot prove anything as being an absolute, and because of this, we have not undertaken the most important task that remains before us. We have shrunk from developing a unified view of what it is we think we are. This reasonable view would elevate or diminish our behavior as individuals and as a species. What does Renaissance philosophy have to offer us as individuals? We can use the process of reason to develop almost any perception we wish to develop regarding the significance of the individual. We have developed perceptions we have of the individual throughout history. To those developing these perceptions, they have all seemed reasonable. We have had many models defining non-believers to be heathens, less than human. These models led to the slaughter of hundreds of millions of individuals. We have had many models defining to the winner go the spoils. These models led to the slaughter of the loser, who numbered in the hundreds of millions. We have had many models defining superiority of race. These models have led to enslavement, inhuman treatment, and the death of millions upon millions. We have had models defining the rights of the strong over the weak. Might makes right. These models have led to the abuse, trauma, and death of billions upon billions of people in innumerable wars. We could go on with this analysis of models we have built, but the result would not change. The point is clear. Models built in isolation that attempt to explain the significance of the individual lead to abuse, trauma, and death. This does not mean we should stop building models that explain our significance for existence. We should stop building models in isolation. We must unite what we see with what we believe. We must unite the areas of religion, spirituality, and science, and philosophy. But this can only take place if we use something other than religion or science to do so, because religion and science are as much interested in protecting their own turf as individuals are. If this is a reasonable observation, then that leaves only reason as the logical tool to unite the knowledge we have accumulated. What could seem more reasonable than faith and observation, religion and science united under the umbrella of reason? The very idea fits the defined purpose of philosophy. Anything falling short of that purpose really is partial. The very concept leaves science and religion independent of each other, allowing them to further investigate their own realms of perception in order to expand upon the view philosophy is able to assemble in a reasonable manner. And who benefits? You benefit. I benefit. Other life forms in the heavens benefit. Even God benefits if the universal model we build is truly all-embracing and universal.